Nandi Hayaribo Jayom Vishnupad Paramahansa Pariprajaka Acharya Asatar Satashri Shimad ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad-Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the Assembly devotees. All glories to the Assembly devotees. All glories to the Assembly devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga, Lord Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhupada. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Deving Sarasatim Yasam Tato Jayamudhirayat. Before reciting the Srimad-Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, let us offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God and Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, who is a translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta prayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatyuttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. By regularly attending the Srimad-Bhagavatam class and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, whose worship with transcendental songs becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're continuing reading from the Srimad-Bhagavatam. This is second canto, chapter 2, The Lord in the Heart. Today's text should be 33. Na hi ato anya shivaha panta vishataha sangsrita iha vasudeve bhagavati bhakti yogo yato bhavet na yato nyakshi bhakpanta vishatak sangsrita viha vasudeve bhagavati bhakti yogo yato bhavet na yato nyakshi bhakpanta vishatak sangsrita viha vasudeve bhagavati bhakti yogo yato bhavet na yato nyakshi bhakpanta vishatak sangsrita viha vasudeve bhagavati bhakti yogo yato bhavet. Please chant. Nahyato nyakshi bhakpanta vishatak sangsrita viha vasudeve bhagavati bhakti yogo yato bhavet nahyato nyakshi bhakpanta vishatak sangsrita viha vasudeve bhagavati bhakti yogo yato bhavet nahyato nyakshi bhakpanta vishatak sangsrita viha vasudeve bhagavati bhakti yogo yato bhavet nahyato nyakshi bhakpanta vishatak sangsrita viha vasudeve bhagavati bhakti yogo yato bhavet nahyato nyakshi bhakpanta Vishataksang Sritaviha Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yogo Yato Bhavet Vaishnavis Nahayato Nyakshivak Panta Vishataksang Sritaviha Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yogo Yato Bhavet. No? Okay, synonyms. Na, never. He, certainly. Ataha, beyond this. Anyaha, any other. Shivaha, auspicious. Pantaha, means. Vishataha, wandering. Sangsritao, in the material world. Iha, in this life. Vasudeve, unto Lord Vasudeva. Krishna. Bhagavati, the personality of Godhead. Bhakti Yogaha, direct devotional service. Yataha, wherein. Bhavet, may result in. Srila Prabhupada's translation for this verse. For those who are wandering in the material universe, there is no more auspicious means of deliverance than what is aimed at in the direct devotional service of Lord Krishna. Please repeat. For those who are wandering in the material universe, there is no more auspicious means of deliverance than what is aimed at in the direct devotional service of Lord Krishna. Srila Prabhupada's purport. As will be clarified in the next verse, devotional service or direct bhakti yoga is the only absolute and auspicious means of deliverance from the grip of material existence. There are many indirect methods for deliverance from the clutches of material existence, but none of them is as easy and auspicious as bhakti yoga. The means of jnana and yoga and other allied disciplines are not independent in delivering a performer. Such activities help one to reach a stage of bhakti yoga after many, many years. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, text 5, it is said that those who are attached to the impersonal feature of the Absolute are liable to many troubles in the pursuit of their desired goal, and the empiricist philosophers searching after the Absolute Truth realize the importance of Vasudeva realization as all in all after many, many births. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text 19. As far as yoga systems are concerned, it is also said in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, text 47, that amongst the mystics who pursue the Absolute Truth, the one who is always engaged in the service of the Lord is the greatest of all. And the last instruction in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text 66, advises fully surrendering unto the Lord, leaving aside all other engagements or different processes for self-realization and liberation from material bondage. And the purport of all Vedic literatures is to induce one to accept the transcendental loving service of the Lord by all means. As already explained in the text of Srimad-Bhagavatam, first canto, either direct bhakti yoga or the means which ultimately culminate in bhakti yoga without any tinge of fruitive activity constitutes the highest form of religion. Everything else is simply a waste of time for the performer. Srila Sridhar Swami and all other acharyas like Jiva Goswami agree that bhakti yoga is not only easy, simple, natural, and free from trouble, but is the only source of happiness for the human being. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamini Teramine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavani Paschatya Deshtarne Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishtang Stapitang Jaina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandehahang Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Ragana Tanvatam Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvatangscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosate Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancho Kalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhe Evacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So with the global spread of this coronavirus, people are very much conscious of their mortality, that death is imminent. But one who's a practitioner of Bhakti Yoga is aware of this, whether there's some imminent danger or not. In other words, we know that for one who has taken birth, death is certain. Krishna says that. Jatasi hi dhruvam janma mritasya cha, 2nd chapter. For one who has taken birth, death is certain. So we're not fazed necessarily by imminent danger because we know this is padam, the place where there's danger at every step. One can go at any moment. So many unlimited ways in which the human body, or any body, any material body, can be killed. So we're not so impressed by the coronavirus because unlike many people who don't know this or don't accept this fact, we know for sure that the death rate is 100%. The death rate in this material world is 100%. It's just a question of what you're going to die from. We are not faced by percentages. They say, oh, this virus kills more than any other. No, everybody's going to die anyway. So just like they're frantically looking for a cure for this coronavirus, everybody should be frantically looking for a cure for material existence. How can I get out of this so I don't have to go through the death experience again and again and again and again? Now, if somebody were to discover a cure for this COVID-19, but didn't give it to others, what would the rest of us think? What a miserly, mean person. You have a cure and you're not giving it to others. How could you be so mean? How could you be so mean? Or if they announce that they have a cure, but only the very wealthy can afford it because each injection costs $50,000. Again, we would think, what a mean person. So many poor people are dying and you could save them and you're charging $50,000 for an injection. So we expect, naturally, that any cure for any disease should be widely available and practically free, if possible, so that as many people as possible can be cured. So we have no control over the cost of medicines and the medications that they put out on the market, but we do have the medicine for the Bhava Roga, which is the real disease that's plaguing every one of us. Birth, old age, disease, and death can be cured, and we have that cure. And I'll give you a nice example of that. When I was in the Mayapur, actually it wasn't the Mayapur Festival, it was the ILS meetings, which preceded the Mayapur Festival. One of our BBT colleagues, Govardhan Prabhu from South Africa, he's the manager of the BBT Africa. He gave a very nice class. I think Sivas was there. And very nice class. So he shared this nice anecdote, story, something that really happened to him. He was at the South Africa Ratha Yatra. And you know Govardhan, he's Indian background. I don't know if he was born in South Africa or moved from India to South Africa, whatever, but Indian bodied. Not too tall, but he said this really, really tall black girl came up to him at the festival. Really, really tall. And she paid her obeisances and got up and asked him, are you the BBT manager? And he said, yes. He said, why? So she told this very interesting story, that she was originally from Rwanda. And many of you know, in Rwanda there was a huge civil war there, fight between two ethnic groups. They're both black, but ethnic groups, I think the Hutus and the Tutsis are the names. And they killed millions of each other and drove millions more into exile and, into camps, refugee camps. But this is not, again, it's something new. This has been happening since time immemorial. We look even at the Mahabharata war, Kurukshetra, that's a fratricidal war. People from the same background, they look alike. The Kauravas and the Pandavas looked alike, but they fought each other to death. And same thing in Europe since time immemorial. So many battles were fought, the Germans and the French and so many, and then the Germans against the British and everybody else. And so ethnic wars are not something new. It's been going on since time immemorial. Even, there's this famous temple complex in Cambodia, Angkor Wat. Many of you are aware, they've been clearing it gradually, and realized, my God, this was like a huge civilization that existed, in the early parts of this, of the first century. And so they wondered, how did it get destroyed? So there were many reasons that they speculated about, but one reason for sure was that they were attacked by their neighbors, the Thais. And apparently these Angkor Wat people, they were not the best fighters. They had a military, but they were not the best fighters. So they were overrun by their neighbors, who were also Southeast Asians. So this fighting amongst people who practically look alike has been going on since time immemorial. Anyway, this girl said that because of that war, one of her uncles went from Rwanda to South Africa and established himself and became pretty successful and was sending money to help the rest of the family. But he was always depressed because he had been, in this war. He had participated in this war. He had been affected by it, practically had PTSD. So he was always depressed, even though he became materially successful in South Africa, until he met a devotee and he got Science of Self-Realization. Now, this guy spoke English, but I think he got it in Swahili. But anyway, he got Science of Self-Realization. He read it, and the lights went on in his head. He became very happy in his heart. He realized now what the goal of life was and how to achieve it. And he was so ecstatic that instead of just sending money home to the family, he was sending books home to the family, BBT books. And the whole family read Prabhupada's books, became enlivened, and this is why the girl came and paid her obeisances, because she was one of the relatives that got Science of Self-Realization. She read it, and it just turned her life around. So we have the cure to what's really ailing people, and that's Prabhupada's books. And there's so many other stories we could tell, so many other stories of how these books, not just for the poor. There's another nice story that was posted recently from Hungary, how one devotee had been out trying to distribute all day and couldn't, no books were going out. And then he approached a very, very modern, expensive Mercedes. There was a man and a woman in there, and you could tell right away it was father, daughter. So he knocked on the window, and the man immediately said, no. But somehow or other the devotee prevailed and got him to take a book. And the guy went away and he became so enlivened by reading that book that he started going to the Hungarian farm. And when he went to the farm, he started going on a pretty regular basis. So one time he came and he looked depressed. So the devotee who was his contact said, what's the matter? He said, well, my wife is leaving me. She's fed up with our relationship. We're always fighting. So she's decided to leave. So the devotees told him, just get her to come here. So he did. He just told her, look, this is our last-ditch effort to save our market. Please come with me to this Hare Krishna farm. And she went. And she said, even though she was an atheist, she was impressed by the way the devotees have organized the farm and their eco efforts, to live green and self-sufficient. So she started coming regularly, and it saved their marriage. So this Krishna consciousness movement it's the only hope for people on every level, not just ultimate spiritual level, but even on the material level. Prabhupada used to say, there are no material solutions to material problems, only spiritual solutions. So we have these solutions. Now in today's verse, it's being suggested that the ultimate solution, as we know, that's why we're here, is Bhakti Yoga. This is what Lord Chaitanya came to give us, this Bhakti Yoga process. And this Bhakti Yoga process is very, very nicely described throughout the Vedic literature, but specifically in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 22, the process of devotional service. I'm just going to read the summary from that chapter, and then we'll discuss one verse in particular. So, chapter 22 of the Madhya Lila is entitled The Process of Devotional Service. And the chapter summary pretty much says it all. In the 22nd chapter, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu describes the process of devotional service. In the beginning, he describes the truth about the living entity and the super excellence of devotional service. He then describes the uselessness of mental speculation and mystic yoga. In all circumstances, the living entity is recommended to accept the path of devotional service as personally explained by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The speculative method of the so-called Gyanis is considered a waste of time, and that is proved in this chapter. An intelligent person should abandon the processes of karma kanda, jnana kanda, and mystic yoga. One should give up all these useless processes and take seriously to the path of Krishna consciousness. In this way, one's life will be successful. If one takes the Krishna consciousness fully, even though he may sometimes be agitated due to having previously practiced mental speculation and yogic mysticism, he will be saved by Lord Krishna himself. The fact is that devotional service is bestowed by the blessings of a pure devotee, Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. A pure devotee is the supreme transcendentalist, and one has to receive his mercy for one's dormant Krishna consciousness to be awakened. One has to associate with pure devotees. If one has firm faith in the words of a great soul, pure devotional service will awaken. In this chapter, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu differentiates between a pure devotee and others. He also describes the characteristics of a pure devotee. A devotee's most formidable enemy is association with women in an enjoying spirit. Association with non-devotees is also condemned because it is also a formidable enemy on the path of devotional service. One has to fully surrender unto the lotus feet of Krishna and give up attraction for women and non-devotees. The 6 symptoms of fully surrendered souls are also described in this chapter. Devotional service has been divided into 2 categories: regulative devotional service and spontaneous love. There are 64 items listed in regulative devotional service, and out of these 64, the last 5 are considered very important. By practicing even one of the 9 processes of devotional service, one can become successful. Speculative knowledge and mystic yoga can never help one in devotional service. Pious activity, non-violence, sense control, and regulation are not separate from devotional service in its pure form. If one engages in devotional service, all good qualities follow. One does not have to cultivate them separately. Spontaneous devotional service arises when one follows a pure devotee who is awakened to spontaneous love of God. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu describes the symptoms of devotees who are already situated in spontaneous love of God. He also describes the devotees who are trying to follow in the footsteps of pure devotees. So this is a very, very potent chapter of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. I recommend you reread it if you haven't read it in a while. And as we have heard in the chapter summary, which I think is given by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that out of the 64 items of regulative devotional service, the last 5 are the most important. So this we should concentrate on. This is text 128 of that chapter. And it's very, very easy to remember those 5. So the first one, repeat after me: Sadhu Sangha. Sadhu Sangha means association of devotees, which is what we're doing. And we know from experience that by associating with devotees, we feel motivated to continue on the path and improve our activities in devotional service. That definitely comes from associating with devotees. Just the opposite, if we disassociate ourselves from devotees, there's every chance we'll fall down. Story I've told probably several times here, but I always remember that there was this nice young bhakta joined when I was living in the San Diego temple in the early 90s. Very, very enthusiastic, did a lot of service. But after a year, he came to me and said, Prabhu, I'm going to leave. I said, why? He said, I'm having trouble associating with devotees, especially senior devotees, and I know it's not good. If I stay here, I'm going to offend them, and it's better for me to just leave rather than becoming offensive. So he took off. About a year later, at a Sunday feast, I saw him. And I said, whoa, you're back. I said, what happened? He said, went to Arizona. I didn't really want to associate with anybody, not just devotees, nobody at all. So I went to the mountains, and I set up a camp, and I was just living there, chanting Hare Krishna, and some or other finding food to eat like that. But lo and behold, after some time, because you can't hide from Maya, Maya sent a nice, similarly inclined young lady. And he started associating with her. They formed a relationship, but after time, it just became unbearable. He couldn't stand being with her anymore, and he ran away and came back to Krishna consciousness. So this is the thing. You can't hide from your problems, because wherever we go, our minds go with us. And the real problem in our life is our own mind. Our own mind is dragging us away from doing the right thing for ourselves, from doing what's best for ourselves, what to speak of for others. Our own minds get in the way of us doing what is good for ourselves. So his mind dragged him away, and he thought he would make better progress in spiritual life by being alone in the desert, but no. The real problem was that he was still attracted to sense gratification, as was mentioned in the chapter summary, that the two main problems for progress on the path of devotional service is associating with women in an enjoying mood. It doesn't say you can't associate. Bhakti Yoga actually is the only yogic path in which you can associate. Prabhupada used to say many times, if you want to be a successful impersonalist or Ashtanga yogi, you have to give up totally the association of women. Go to the Himalayas, live in a cave and practice your breathing process, or study the Vedanta Sutra and all that alone, separately. Take sannyas first and then study. That's the other paths. Bhakti Yoga is the only path in which you can associate. But that association should not be done in an enjoying mood. Married or not married, it should be done in the mood of making progress, mutual progress in spiritual life. So, Sadhu Sangha is the first one. Then Nam Kirtan. Everybody say Nam Kirtan. That's the second of the 5. And that we know. There is no question of progressing in Bhakti Yoga in devotional life if you don't chant. If you don't chant. If you don't chant, you're not going to make any progress. Sometimes devotees become so busy that they think they have a license not to chant. But that was also discussed when Prabhupada was here. One temple president went to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, sometimes I'm so busy, I can't finish my rounds. Prabhupada said, okay, so finish the next day. But sometimes, Prabhupada, I'm so busy, even the next day I can't. Prabhupada said, stopped him. He said, no, you find time to eat and sleep. You must find time to chant your rounds. You must. So if you read in this chapter, I forget which purport, but there's one purport in this chapter where Prabhupada said that the most important order of the spiritual master is to chant 16 rounds every day. You must. So there's no excuse. Then the third item is Bhagavad Shravana. Everybody say Bhagavad Shravana. Bhagavad Shravana means hearing the Srimad-Bhagavatam daily. We must hear Srimad. So Prabhupada has instituted that as part of his International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Every day you must hear from the Srimad-Bhagavatam. So at least whatever verse or verses are discussed. And then of course beyond that if you can read more. But at least every day come to the Bhagavatam class. So Sadhu Sangha, Namakirtan, Bhagavata Shravan. Mathuravas, everybody say Mathuravas. Mathuravas means living in Mathura or any holy place, pastime place of the Lord, or any holy place where the Lord is worshipped, like New Dwarkadam Ki Jai. So as far as possible, practitioners of devotional life, Bhakti Yoga, should live in a devotee community as far as possible. Sometimes that can't be avoided. You may have to live some distance away, but then it's recommended that you follow the same practices at home. Don't take it lightly that because I don't live in a community that I can. No, you should still rise early, take bath, perform Mangalarti, chant your rounds, offer everything you eat. All of that should be done no matter where you live. And then the last one is Shri Murtaya Shradaya Sevan. Shri Murtaya Shradana Sevan, which means worshiping the deities with faith and devotion. So that obviously goes on here, by the, again, mercy of Srila Prabhupada, who installed the deities and trained us up how to worship them. And so we have to continue that. But in order to continue nice worship of the deities, Prabhupada said, you must preach. If you don't preach, then worship of the deities, Sri Vigraha, will become Sri Golagraha. Golagraha means a weight around the neck. Prabhupada said, you will wake up one day and say, why did my Guru Maharaj burden me with this deity worship and all this stuff? So in order to maintain the enthusiasm for worshiping the deity, one has to preach. Even if you're a full-time pujari and can't go out necessarily all the time, but the pujari service has to be done in the mood of preaching. That I'm serving the Lord nicely so that those who come to the temple and take darshan will be inspired to surrender, to chant, etc. And that goes for all services, everything we do. So the deity worship, when we're living in a community like this, the deities are the center of the community. Everything revolves around them. Our rising early and coming to the temple is for their pleasure. One should not be so concerned about one's own pleasure. Whatever we do should be for the pleasure of the deity. And we see in other Bhakti tradition, schools of Bhakti, that they take that very seriously. Every day they read a report to the deity. This is what happened today. They regularly take at least the Utsav deities out, festival, around. They have a particular parikrama path that they follow. Everything is for even in the old days, everything was written in the deity's name. The property was written in the name of the deity. And there were farmlands in the name of the deity. And everything produced on that farmland was brought for the deity service like that. So nowadays we're living in a cash economy, so we should have that mentality that all the money in my possession actually belongs to Sri Sri Rukmini Dwarkadish. It's not my money. And therefore, I should use it as wisely as possible in the service of the deities. And Prabhupada set the example of what to do. Construct temples. After some time he said we don't need more temples, we need restaurants/reading rooms. So we expand in that way. And of course, the BBT is there. For money, we need as much money as we can to keep translating these books into other languages and distributing them in mass quantities. And lately there's been a nice trend because, of course, the disciples are getting older. Just recently, somebody called and I spoke to him. He was a lawyer representing somebody who was passed away, and she left part of her money to the BBT. So he wanted to know who to write the check out to and where to send it. So that's very good example. Yes, as we live, even the poorest amongst us, we've accumulated things, items. So this person, when she died, she made a very, very detailed will that she wanted so much money to go to this temple, so much money to go to the BBT, these possessions, including her book, should go to that person, and like that. Very, very detailed. And those of us who are getting older should take that seriously. Leave a detailed will of what you want, how you want your possessions to be dispersed, and how you want your money to be dispersed. Otherwise, quite often, family members who are not necessarily devotees or not necessarily even friendly to devotional activities will snatch up that money and simply waste it. As we heard from this chapter summary, any activity outside of Bhakti Yoga is a waste of time. Complete waste of time. And similarly, any use of money that's not used for progressing Bhakti Yoga is a waste of money. So we should take it seriously and plan our lives following in the footsteps of the predecessor acharyas. Engage in these 5 activities, even if we can't do all of the other items of the 64 items of regular Bhakti Yoga. These 5 we must do. Associate with devotees, chant Hare Krishna, hear Srimad-Bhagavatam, reside in a holy place, and worship the deities with faith and devotion. So we'll stop here if there are any questions, comments. Yes, Prem Sankirtan Prabhu. Bring the microphone, please.
There is nine processes of devotional service, and even one of process if you perform, you can perfect your life. And also there is these 5 items of devotional service. Is it also for them, if you perform only one, of these 5, you can be successful.
Well, you can see the relationship between these 5 particular items from that list of 64 and the 9 processes of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padas, like that. So these 5 are related to that. Like Shravanam, Kirtanam, right? It says Nam Kirtan, chanting the holy name is one of the 5. So chanting the holy name, you're doing both of those. When you chant the holy names, you're engaging in Shravanam Kirtanam. You're chanting and you're also hearing. Right? So all of those 5 are related to the 9 processes. And if you perfect any of those 9 processes, Prahlad Maharaj says, Iti Pungsarpata Vishnu Bhaktisten Navalakshana. Kriyeta Bhagavatyada Tanmanyeditam Uttamam. He says, he lists the 9 processes and he says, anyone who engages in those 9 or even one of those 9, I consider to be the most intelligent person. So yes, if you perfect any of these, associating with devotees properly, chanting Hare Krishna properly, hearing, obviously, Bhagavatam means Shravanam, they're all related. And if you perfect anything in Bhakti Yoga, then you're going to go back. But it means, perfection means it's pleasing the predecessor Acharya. We don't stamp ourselves as being perfect, ever. Prabhupada said, a pure devotee never considers himself or herself to be perfect. If you can think like that, then you're already fallen. Our perfection comes when we satisfy our Guru Maharaj, predecessor Acharya. That's what makes us perfect. Anything else? Okay, Grantaraj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, and Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.